Net meeting is absolutely incredible, and I know that especially whenever we identify that we do have so many new people in here, I do want to talk to a lot of the new people as well, but I just want to make sure that whenever you go home, you're going to have this incredible, powerful instinct to be like, I need to become Brandon Brown. So I'm just going to change my entire pitch, and I'm just going to just do Brandon Brown's pitch. You're not. So what I would suggest to you is don't go home and do a complete, rip it down to the studs, change your entire thing. That will be worse off for you in the long run. But what I would suggest for you is take 1 to 2 things that you think are gonna be the biggest needle movers out of what they talked about and focus on mastering and implementing those 2 things. And then once you see those 2 things start to continually show up in your business, that's when you move on to the next couple things out of their message. And just keep layering these things on until eventually, I don't know, maybe you can be some sort of amalgamation of Brandon Brown and Matt Graves. But all right, let's go ahead and start it off. I'm gonna go ahead and start off and then we'll have the room going around. Brandon, we're gonna start off with you, sir. I really like the concept of the quality questions that you get into, and I really like the packages that you have for the smaller, the smaller stuff. Because we like to talk about the big sexy orders like the sets and the packages and everything like that. But if you could just start off by giving us 2 to 3 of your favorite go-to packages that you have in that area, just so we can kind of start to get some people some ideas of what they can do with those.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say typically if I'm doing any type of smaller package, again, a lot of it is catering to the customer. And the first thing I'll say is listen to the customer, right? When I'm working with a customer, I'm always putting myself in their shoes and identifying hey, how are they feeling? What are they thinking about? And what's an option that if they heard this, it would make sense for them. And so obviously the 5-piece is a go-to. The 4x4 package I enjoy because it kind of up-levels the overall CPO in that area. The one thing I'll say about 5 pieces too, because every once in a while we get those customers where you keep showing them pieces and it's really hard to help them find something nah, I got this, I'm vegetarian, won't use any of those, and you just trial error, keep missing, right? And so I'll sometimes blend together gifts, gadgets, and then of course pieces that they might use for themselves, even sometimes cookware. And so I'll really pull a wider range and cast a wider net to try to get to 5 pieces, because I know if I can do that, again, it's gonna increase that baseline CPO. And Matt can tell you from working with me, but I enjoy so much working with that customer that has 1 or 2 pieces and they don't want to buy anymore, and it's tooth and nail, but really taking those orders and just moving them up to that 5-piece baseline, getting creative with what I just mentioned. So those are some of my go-tos that I can think of right now.
Love it. Very cool. All right, let's go ahead and go to the audience real quick. First hand that I've seen over here is Mr. Anthony Coyote, I believe that is, if I can see correctly through the lights. So if we can get a mic runner over to him, and then we'll come over to this side of the room. So be ready.
Hey, Brendan and Matt, this question is for both you guys. I assume most of your bundles and kitchens are upserved even after the initial pitch and the initial yes. Can y'all both kind of give us a walkthrough or routine of what that looks like going back through the packages with your customers?
Awesome question. I kind of hit on this in my message, but it's one of the 4 scenarios about reintroducing the Cutco kitchen. Anytime you guys close a knife set, my favorite question to ask is hey, out of curiosity, now that you're getting the knives taken care of today, when you look at your journey of the Cutco kitchen, Mrs. Jones, what would be next? Would it be flatware, cookware, or the accessory package? And so it just opens the door of hey, what's next for them? Not what do you want to sell them next. And so I think a lot of that just opens the door of what is next for me? I think cookware, Matt. And then what I like to do is say, hey, because we're already here together, do you mind if I tell you about what makes the cookware worth the investment? permission question, do your approach, or do your quick spiel on the cookware, and then ask another follow-up question. Mrs. Jones, just because we're already here at the show, just for fun, do you want to see what the package deal would look like if we were to add the cookware to the set? Most of my kitchens that come from an upserve is after I close the package deal. Because then you say, Mrs. Jones, you're 2/3 of the way there. Do you want to just entertain my best deal to do the full kitchen and be one and done today? And then it turns into like, all right, we're almost there already. What do you got? And then it just turned into the full kitchen. So it's all about timing, and it's all about questions. And I think if you guys discipline yourself enough to keep those questions coming after you make the sale, that's when it opens the doors to actually upserve to a Cutco kitchen.
I do pretty much the same thing.
Copy paste. Next question. We got somebody over here, right here. Yes, you standing. Yep, you.
Thank you. My question is for Matt Graves. Hi, my name is Han, Midwest Division, Hoosier Division, Midwest Region. Do you worry about scaring off potential customers when you show them that package price for the kitchen first?
Another awesome question. So that was a story I told myself for many years of like, wait to show the Cutco kitchen until after you've done all the value building. And what I found is that as soon as I made the decision to just start showing it in the beginning right away, I stopped wasting time with a lot of people. And the reason why is because when you show the Cutco kitchen package, you're not trying to sell them it in that moment. You're just showing what's possible and that most customers actually work towards it. And now you're giving them an opportunity to like show you a reaction. So in those moments, I'll get people that like, 15,000, I'm out of here. And they just like run away. They probably were not gonna look at buying anything anyways. But now I just opened the door for a qualified customer to come to the booth. The other reaction that you want to look for is like, that's actually not that bad. And then you're like, I got a good one. And then you dive into your actual approach, you qualify the customer. One of the things I did not put in my message that I really want to point out is after I do my power intro, okay, so you guys know what my power intro is now. I say, Mrs. Jones, out of curiosity, would knives be the priority today? Or have you ever considered upgrading your flatware and your cookware as well? So before I even start showing them knife sets, I actually ask them, what's the priority? And when I changed that approach about 1.5 years ago, I actually started selling way more package deals from the get-go because people would be like, knives are the priority, but we for sure could use cookware too. So then I'd be like, cool, I'll show you the knives first, and then I'll tell you about our cookware. How does that sound? Boom, here's our 3 main knife sets. And then I go into my spiel, but now I know that I'm not showing them the price of the knife set until I show them the cookware first. So it really changed like my perception on like how I work with people from the very beginning now. I'm not just like shoving knives in people's faces. I'm like actually asking, hey, what's on your priority list? I've also experienced for the first time ever, whenever I actually like bought my full cookware set in 2020, that when I started asking that question, hey, is knives the priority or is flatware or cookware something you've ever considered upgrading? Actually, Matt, we don't need knives at all. We're happy with our knives. But tell me about your cookware. So I'll literally sell cookware or flatware to new customers that don't even own Cutco because of this approach now. So now I've actually, like Brandon says, casted a wider net of people that didn't necessarily come to look at knives, but back then I was only trained to sell knives, and if they didn't show interest in knives, I stopped talking to them. Now I'm actually selling everything Cutco offers with my approach. So does that answer your question? Okay. Awesome.
All right, who's got a question for Brandon? For Brandon, right here. We're gonna go in the center. We got a runner coming to you.
Hey, Brandon, nice to see you. I'm curious about your current displays. Over the past couple months, I've taken off single pieces and doing more pamphlets, and I'm seeing myself sell more sets. So I'm curious if you can tell us a little bit about your displays, like cookware, packages, what that looks like. Do you have knives out?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure the room's probably slightly split between having display knives currently out on your table and maybe no display knives. And for me, and also Matt, we have our full Ultimate displayed, and it's essentially in order from, homemaker, left to right. If you, as you guys would be the customer, and you guys are looking at me, and I have my display board here. So your left to right is homemaker, right, signature, ultimate pieces, and it's really galley, homemaker, signature, ultimate pieces. So that's the flow, as if you're reading a book, left to right. And so the one thing I'll say is, personally, the reason why I haven't gotten rid of the knives is because I'm really good at helping moving customers towards sets and framing it the right way. And so what I've discovered is that if I personally have all the pieces laid out, it's really quick. It's very easy for me to identify, hey, this is what a customer has, this is what they're missing for an upgrade, or hey, this is what comes in the different sets and what it would look like to complete it. And so anytime a customer wants to veer off the path I've laid for them, which is, one of the sets, they're like, well, how much is this? And can I buy these individually? I move them right back to, getting an actual set. So to answer your question, I have my Ultimate pieces there. I have about 3 gift sets in arm's distance from me, Ultimate set next to me on the left, flatware on my right, and typically cookware on a neighboring table, depending on the shape of the display, and then my gadgets in front of me as well. So that's pretty much how I have it, and that way it's easy for me to talk about Cutco kitchens. I got cookware, flatware, Ultimates, all next to me.
Very nice. Right over here, Spencer Campbell. We have a mic coming.
Okay, thank you. So my question is for both of you because you guys work a lot together. So in terms of the concept of the Cutco kitchen, Matt mentioned that over the 7 years of him mastering different levels of the business, in terms of the concept of the rich soil, mastering the scripts, and growing your tree, do you feel like it is essential to master the knives, the flatware, the cookware, and the accessories, or can you grow that tree specific to the Cutco kitchen concept?
I'll share my 2 cents, and I'll let Matt finish that off. In my opinion, focus on one thing to master, right? Knife sets. And then pivot towards cookware, flatware, and then accessories. As we were mentioning earlier, you don't want to try to master everything at once. It's just going to take a lot longer that way. It's better just to hone like, hey, the next 3 months, I'm going to focus on selling sets. I'm going to measure my results and how I'm doing and watch the needle move, right? Watch me go from selling pieces to selling sets. Instead of selling galleys, I'm selling, signatures. We don't keep galleys or anything smaller than that on our table. They don't exist. And even when we're talking about the sets, we're not talking about table knives unless they already know about them. It's like, hey, steak knives is the only option. And so focus on selling sets, master that, because that's probably one of the easiest things to sell from a wow factor of cutting with the leather, and then move from each component of the Cutco kitchen. And then once you've done that, then you can learn to blend all of it together and get them bought into the whole package.
Yeah, so I think a lot of us have to be real with ourselves and really understand like what our skill set is compared to where we want to go. And I think it's really easy to like hear messages and be like, I can do that this year if I just focus on selling kitchens. Like I can master all those. The reality is you have to allow yourself the time, the space, and the interactions to get good, right? And that just comes with years of practice, years of doing shows, years of working with customers to really understand how good you can be with selling those different layers. And so what Brandon said, I would just pick one thing that will move the needle the most this year for you. And once you're like the top of the company, or at least top in your division at selling that specific thing, and you have 100% confidence that when an opportunity comes your way that you can close it, then move on to the next thing. Don't rush the process, because then you won't get anywhere, right? If you're mediocre at everything, you're not gonna actually master anything. And so for me, it was like, you know what? I'm in this for the long game. I'm gonna give myself as much time that's needed to become a master at my craft. And that's why I was like, man, I should call this message 7 years of mastery, because that's how long it took. That's really how long it took to really get good at all of that. And most of you know that journey about me. And that's why I wanted to explain that in the beginning of my message, is because some of you get it quicker, you're a lot more skilled, but some of you might take longer to actually master things, and you just have to respect the time that it could take or not take. So
Awesome.
just commit to it.
We're going to go with Carlton right here, and then we'll finish it off with one more question if we have time. We're at about 5 minutes left, so let's keep this moving. We have a microphone for you right here.
Okay. In regards to the Cutco kitchen, I do want to ask a question about the spouse stall. Actually, I want to hear that ran, and hopefully I want to hear both of you role play a spouse stall on the spot.
A what?
Spouse stall.
Spouse
Talk
stall.
to my wife. Talk to my spouse.
Got to talk to my husband.
Talk to my
gotta
spouse.
wife.
But I also want to ask specifically, if in you guys running the Cutco kitchen and asking for bigger orders, if you're getting that, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it all at once. And what's happening whenever you don't close it? Like, is there a follow-up process? If not, that's cool. But I'm just genuinely curious if you're getting more of that within the spouse stall whenever you get the husband and wife situation.
I'll let Brandon do this one, because he's like the master at navigating questions, and I do the same thing as he does. But we got really good at this specific objection working military bases. So where's my federal reps at? Yeah, so you guys know that's like the most common objection we get is normally the husband's deployed and it's just the wife. So we're always having to handle it in advance or after we're trying to close. So I'm gonna let Brandon take this, and then if you want to hear more from me, go ahead.
So the one quick thing, because you kind of asked two questions there. So the first thing is in regards to, hey, I'm only going to do it if I can do all of it, and I can't afford all of it, and so I'm going to think about it. The big thing there, just to touch on, is it's all about hedging. So typically, again, every scenario is slightly different, but if you have a customer and you can, let's say they're like what Matt said, the priority is the knives, but we might also like cookware. So typically what I'll say is, awesome, let's go ahead and go over the knives first, and then I'll show you the prices, and then I'll go ahead and show you the cookware options as well. And if you want to bundle the two, great. If not, we can also just start with the knives. And so I'm hedging the option of them possibly not wanting to do both because of affordability. And so I'm kind of like planting that seed. Think of it as like a checkpoint, like in a video game or something. It's like, cool, at least I can fall back on just the ultimate set versus like put all my eggs in one basket of possibly doing the package deal. Does that answer that part of the question? Sweet. And then in regards to like the spouse objection, I shared this a few nets ago. The biggest thing with that is when, let's say it's the husband, and I'm talking to the husband and the wife isn't there. And the husband's like, hey, I really like the ultimate set, but I need to talk to my wife. It's like, hey, totally understand. I'm just curious. What are your thoughts so far if the decision was like solely up to you? And I really want to like isolate, what is he thinking? What is he feeling? Is he 100% on board, or is he like, defaulting to just the wife? And then again, he's going to give me information there. And then from there, I'll say, hey, by the way, how long have you and your wife been married? 30 years? Awesome. Safe to say you know your wife pretty well? Great. I'm just curious. I know your wife isn't here, but hypothetically, and I would write that word down, hypothetically, that's like just a great word to insert into your pitch. Hypothetically, if she was, and she was able to see and hear everything you just saw, the fact that it's American made, guaranteed forever, and also knowing like how much she loves to cook and probably appreciates quality knives, what do you think she would say? She'd probably say, let's get it. Awesome. Well, knowing that she's probably on board, another question I have is, just so I'm on the same page, if you really, really wanted to, could you fit $7-10 a month into the budget? Yeah, I mean, if we really wanted to, we could. Awesome. Well, considering the fact that you're probably going to end up getting the set either way, and if your wife was here, she would probably end up giving you like full support to do it anyways. And since we're here and we have each other's undivided attention, I just wanted to ask, if I went out of my way, it did something extra special, so you felt good about just placing the order today, is that something that you'd be open to?
Guys.
And by the way, my turbo deal, some of you know, three cutting boards, sharpener, 3 gadgets. So basically 120 CPO less, and that's the turbo deal.
All right, y'all, if you do have any more questions, luckily, I believe both of these gentlemen will be doing roundtables. But yeah, and if you guys did not get down that question about if the decision was solely up to you, what are your thoughts? That is a genius question to ask people, because you will get so many more objections coming from behind the wife's smokescreen after just asking that question. That was brilliant. All right, let's go ahead and turn things over. We're going to give a big round of applause to Matt and Brandon for their messages and for the Q&A. Like I said, we're going to catch them at the round tables.